All right. We are live.
Oh,
Thank you, Hailey, for joining me for a conversation on Hannah's Corner tonight.
thank you.
So for those of you who are not familiar with Hailey Niswanger, you're missing out. Get familiar and fast. She is an amazingly accomplished saxophonist and composer, band leader, 3 albums to her name. She's worked with quite an array of impressive artists and collaborations. She's been on SNL and the list goes on. So please go ahead. I linked her bio and her music in my Facebook post. Please go check out her beautiful music after our talk. So to kind of kick things off here, COVID kind of threw a monkey wrench in everything, right? And it's been a major, massive adjustment for so many artists. And I just wondered, I wanted to pose the question to you, how do you think COVID and just this kind of pandemic we're in has affected your music? In what ways?
Well, I think it's definitely, different for everybody. I have friends that have been super productive, friends that have not been playing music as much. For me personally, it's been a very much like a get back to the basics sort of time where I kind of started taking out like my doubles more, going back to like clarinet and like classical etudes and kind of like, you know, tone and sound, and starting to practice things that I never would have time for because I'd be on the road or kind of just like playing out so much. I'd have not much of a desire to play when I got home. So it's been a lot more of that, but also phases where I'm not playing as much and phases where it's returning to music as a form of service for me, where it's like I'm getting out of the headspace of playing for money. It's less about that now for me. And I'm seeing how like that somehow needs to transfer to my future, especially as someone that plays Black American music. How can I use my musical ability to either to serve that or to serve a purpose that's like not like, oh, it's my career and I'm trying to make a whole bunch of money off playing saxophone, you know? So to start to shift that feeling of like, okay, how can I be of service in a way that my music can either raise money or raise awareness or something of deeper meaning. So just trying to navigate that, but also to try and stay afloat. I mean, in all honesty, I'm on unemployment. That's reality for me now. And it's been kind of a blessing in a way to kind of now have this time where I can finally write and explore and go back to the play, you know, to really play, not try and, you know, work on something specific or try and impress or try to, you know, record something down, to kind of just pick up my horn and create in the moment and kind of return to that, to like, just like what feels good, to play that for that one moment and have it be like so precious, you know?
Definitely. You're right. It has kind of been a time of recentering and slowing down. I've noticed that as an artist too, and just more time to write and be more intentional with what you're putting out there. Something I was really struck by just is your evolution as an artist and your sound, just from your time graduating from Berklee in 2011 onwards until here we are today. I'm just really struck by the beauty of your journey, of how your sound has evolved and how many other elements you include in your music, like world sounds or electronic sounds. And now with your latest group, MAE.SUN, can you tell us a little bit about how that group formed and what your vision was for it?
For sure. Thank you. I definitely, you know, I was in such of that like jazz obsession head through high school and college, like it was completely jazz. And as I, you know, there was a little sprinkles of some other like old school R&B or like, you know, some world music, some, you know, Michael Jackson, stuff like that, thrown in there that I would listen to a lot. But after graduating college, I started just, you know, new friends, living in New York City, new meshing of so many cultures around me. And I really just started to listen to more things, more indie, original. Started to just love getting away from playing, you know, traditional jazz or jazz standards, things that have been played for years, and start to just love original music and this grasping for very much like this original approach, or, you know, and less theory. I wanted to kind of stop like thinking so like chord changes, fast, harmony, chord, move, 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 like how am I bebopping these lines, you know, which I still love to bebop from time to time, but I wanted to get to a place like John Coltrane said, where it's like you forget everything, you know. Well, I forget his exact quote in this moment, but it's basically you learn everything to forget everything, and it's more of an infusion process. So I wanted to be able to like emote from that and bring my music to a place of being a voice rather than something that's filling a formula, you know. So MAE.SUN was more channeled. When I started writing for MAE.SUN, I really kind of, you know, all my theory went out the door, and I just was in the moment, and a lot of the music in a way wrote itself. Like it kind of just what was, like we are what is, it was what it was. And so in that moment, I kind of just started forming smaller ideas and thinking more simply, being like, what is, like things like mantra, like what is something that listeners and I can just latch onto and return to and have like a swirling motion underneath, rather than, you know, my jazz head stuff. You know, I wanted something that was very like, could get into a trance with, you know. And so that's kind of was more my approach, something that was very like graspable for everyone, no matter, you know, what they listen to, and to be able to then create on top of that, you know, and this like mantric bass, like, or this mantric, you know, thing happening under me. And so more of that approach of like, I want to communicate more like astrally, you know, more like ethereal kind of transmission when I play. So I wanted it to be something I could really hook on and hook into, and then create and swell up on top of. So that was more my approach for MAE.SUN. And I decided, like, because it felt like it came from such a more channeled place, I was like, this is so much more than my name that was just giving to me in this one lifetime. You know, this is like me playing from a place of all of my past lifetimes and all of my future lifetimes, and coming to this more universal approach of the whole, you know, what everything that's influencing me in the moments that I'm playing. And I was like, okay, like MAE.SUN came to me. May is actually my middle name, but the sun is like our second heart outside of our body. It's the heart that connects us all here on planet Earth that we all share. So I feel very connected to the sun, and I kind of just, it came to me one day and I was like, that's the name, that's what I'm going to go by for this new music. And yeah, MAE.SUN was born in 2016, and we have 2 albums out, and just recently I've been writing the 3rd. So that's been really fun.
Wonderful. That's so incredible. And I think just now we need those higher vibrations, and right, to be reminded of that energy now more than ever, I feel like, because there's so much dark, heavy energy. So anything that can get us into a meditative, peaceful trance, I think is so important.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about your process for the next album you're writing. How does that kind of work? I mean, I've had my own experiences. I don't know about you, where sometimes things will just kind of come in like a download. You'll just download so much and you'll hope it's recording and to be able to get it. Like, what does that look like for you?
Well, if I'm going to be really honest, and I hope I can be really honest out here. Recently I've been experiencing kind of like a microdose of mushrooms, psychedelics. And it's been very interesting to channel in a way that's like totally everything falls open. And I'm not like tripping really hard, but there's an opening, that kind of heart opening that happens when I've experienced mushrooms. It's very like a flow that you're kind of just cracked open. And I've been experiencing just kind of like putting the record on and creating during these times, exploring sounds both on, I've been playing a lot more guitar. So writing on different instruments kind of comes to me, music comes to me in a different way. So I'll write music on guitar, I'll write music on piano, I'll write music on flute, I'll write with my voice, I'll write with my saxophones, but kind of just exploring different avenues from this very heart open space. has been what I've been exploring lately, and what will be a lot of the music coming for volume 3 has come from, to be honest. And so there's that, but for me, I'm just very multi-instrument. So being able to get in that different headspace with different instruments, and also like the innocence on guitar for me, like I don't really know what I'm doing. I've had like very small amount of lessons. I'm mostly just like using my ear, and so that's kind of been a very different approach, because it comes from a more pure state for me, where I'm not overanalyzing or overthinking. But yeah, a lot of it is voice, comes to me, as you said, and it just like I'll sing a melody, or I'll hear a bass line accompanying a melody or something, and yeah, kind of just pick it out, take little notes, a lot of recording notes. I have a lot of that, or little scribbles, scraps on paper of just like random little ideas, and then kind of birthing that all together, you know, playing things over and over and over and over and over again, and seeing the different things that I can hear layer wise on top of that.
So when you go to communicate to your group or your band, is it something that's like implied that you kind of, are you writing it kind of together, or do you like give them charts? How does that work?
No, I do. I have a suite that I write out. So it's like a 3-page chart. So like all the volume 1 and 2, they fit on like 3 or 4 pages of music. So yeah, no, it's open in their approach. Like sometimes I'll have certain instruments that I'm like, oh, vibes, I want you to play this melody. Aaron's, you know, bass, this is your line. You know, but it's also very much open in a sense, like mess with the drum rhythms, like see what you hear, see what are ways that you can take us further. You know, I definitely leave a lot of freedom for the other band members, but I've written the melodies and the harmonies and the direction, the transitions, because when we play, we don't stop. So it's kind of like this ever experienced suite that happens when we play live, obviously. But the album kind of fused that way too with the mix. We made it kind of a continuous project. But yeah, I write it.
So I'm just imagining the possibilities with music, and I'm just started thinking of things like dance and meditation, or like yoga. Are you have you been approached by people like maybe like, hey, I really like your music, can you play live in our yoga class? Or what are the ways you're maybe seeing the intersectionality between these things?
I just played a yoga class on Sunday here, actually, and my one of my childhood best friends, like a sister to me, she's a psychologist, doctor, but also fuses yoga with that, and she leads these classes and asked me to play for them. And so I have a new direction that I've been approaching with loop pedals. So a lot of, because MAE.SUN is very cyclical, it's this little kind of like mantra I'm able to start to experience with like looping a guitar melody or chords and looping vocals on top of that. So I did this really cool, like more soundscapey, you know, meditative loop building, and then improvising over the top of. So that was really fun, and definitely a new direction I hope to explore more in. And a lot of my like a past music video, we had dancers involved, and like fusing that with dance and other modalities of meditation was very much infused in my last music video, whether it be someone writing or painting, or you doing yoga, or, you know, martial arts. So I definitely feel the intersectionality of this, right? Of music with other things is super cool to explore, and kind of like in a way is a crossover for me, like the way that I've started to use more electronic pedals to start like crossing over just sounds, or, you know, getting bamboo flutes and like experience with different like world instruments and different sounds and timbres and modes. Definitely, I love to keep that like ever expanding, you know, curiosity of like new things.
And it's cool that you feel the freedom to do that, because I mean, depending on where we are in our careers, right? Some of us feel like we have to do our like our jazz album, or our breaking out, right? Or our like swing album, or our album of all the like the women or the mentors that have inspired us, or things like that. I'm just wondering, for you, at what moment did you really feel like, okay, this is me being my truest self? Like, this is me honoring me, like which?
Yeah, well, it was around the time that I formed MAE.SUN, because what happened is, well, I we all go through breakups. That happens, going through breakups, getting time alone. And then I was kind of like at this new breaking point where I was like, I need to just go somewhere by myself for a while. And I went to Africa. I went to Ethiopia, and I lived there for 9 weeks with a family that's I had met the previous time I went to Ethiopia for a tour, and stayed in touch with this family. And I lived with them for 9 weeks. And while I was there, time didn't exist for me. It was the first time I really could let go of what like time was, and like a schedule and a day-to-day of having or needing to do something, basically like throwing the patriarchy out of like needing to feel productive. And it kind of opened up a flow. I brought this like a MIDI keyboard with me in my computer, and I was there, and I was writing for both MAE.SUN and jazz. At the same time, I was like writing tunes that were more like, oh, this would be for like Hailey Niswanger quartet. This would be for MAE.SUN. And I had this very split, like very intentional mindset where I was going back, like, this is a jazz song. This is a MAE.SUN song. And I was like, wait, what is this? And what is that? What do I really want to be doing? What is the music that like, that is really calling to me? And, I came back to New York, and I played some gigs at Smalls Jazz Club playing my quartet stuff. And then I played some MAE.SUN gigs, and I was like, wait, like this is my original voice with MAE.SUN. This is what I need to be giving to the world, not trying to sound like John Coltrane or Wayne Shorter, or trying to be to emulate my masters, which definitely led me to my own voice, without a doubt. The thousands of transcriptions I've done. But it was a time where I was like, this is me approaching music in like my own original self, where I listened to MAE.SUN and I'm like, I can't really like pair it next to a band. Like, I can't really, like when I'm like, someone like, what bill, like what you put together? And I'm like, wow, like, I'm not even sure like who else I'd put on our playlist or who I'd put in our bill, and figuring that out. Cause it feels, I don't know, something's different. And I think that was like, this is the voice that I have to follow. Like, this is what I'm here for. This is my purpose. Like, yes, I love jazz. I will always love jazz. And like last night I played my first gig since lockdown. We did a live stream at a jazz club, a friend's band I was playing with. And we played some MAE.SUN because he'd played some MAE.SUN before, and we played some jazz tunes too, some standards. And I was like, whoa, just like, I love it. I honor it. I respect it. But like, this is me. This is what I have to do. So.
And it's pretty amazing that you don't even know, like, it's hard to categorize it, right? And that's how the kind of I feel about where I am in my stage. It's like, I don't know, it's just me. And everyone
want to box you in.
Smooth jazz, or it's contemporary, or it's a fusion.
The genre.
And people get really bogged down, I feel like, in that. And sometimes it's like, well, what moves you? But at the end of the day, like, what is going to get you to that piece of tranquility, or the peace and tranquility, right?
Yeah, or like, it's just the thing of like finally becoming like non-binary. Like, why do we have to define everything? Why can't I just call it, universal spiritual music,
Which is what I want to ask you is, do you think like you're part of this, like a new genre? Are you, going to own this and kind of create, a new genre? Do you think that's a possibility somewhere between, like, I don't know, free or world, or I'm not sure, but I hear like glimmers of your music kind of in other artists, and a lot of them I feel like tend to be out west, out in LA, and they have like this kind of synergistic sound where and things like transcendental kind of music. I don't know. I'm wondering if that's an emerging genre or something.
I don't know. That's because I don't know what I'd call it. A lot of people refer to it as very spiritual music. Obviously, that's already kind of like a type of genre, but it's I call it cosmic music in a way. But yeah, it's also like, how can I take credit for a sound that I, was definitely inspired by all other sounds,
Right, it's hard. Hey,
yeah.
Which do you want to try to I'm going to try to riff with you, and maybe and bear with us, everyone who's tuning in after with the delay, but we're going to give it a go.
Sure. We're just going to make stuff up.
I'll please lead. That was kind of fun.
My sound on you was cutting in and out, but it was like.
No, I heard most of it. I was like a call. It was a true call and response because you have to like say your bit.
Yeah, I'll enjoy listening back to that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But so, well, it must have been fun to play a live show for the first time just the other day. Must have felt
so good. And it went so fast. It was like a 2-hour long live stream, and it was like, because it was just like, this is crazy. Finally being able to like be with my friends, playing music, doing what I love. I mean, that was like kind of what was most devastating to me when we locked down, was the fact that I just couldn't do what I loved most with people I love, for people I love, you know. And yeah, so, and I don't know what the future kind of looks like for me in terms of doing live stream. That was like a good opportunity, but it was also weird too, you know, no one's there and there's a screen, you know, we see the comments coming, but it's definitely been very hard for me to navigate the new virtual terrain, for sure.
It has. I see a lot of artists doing cool videos where they'll like get like all the 6 screens, and I just don't have the production equipment myself to do that. But.
Totally, definitely. Either that or just putting up content constantly, or having, you know, I'm just like, wow, good job. I have a good friend that's been like on his Patreon and on, you know, live stream festivals, and I'm like, wow, great job. I'm just trying to catch my breath over here. But I yeah, and then it's so hard because what we love so much about music is that connection, and it obviously we can, kind of only go so far virtually. Like it's not the same as being there and hearing the instrument and being present with what's happening in the moment. So yeah, just definitely things look so much different, and I just don't really know. I really don't have any answers for what it's going to look like for me or
Well,
you or anyone.
but hey, at least you're doing a deep dive and you're kind of, writing a lot. And when everything hopefully picks back up, you'll have all this music and,
Yeah.
sat with your.
That's the thing. It will happen again someday. We have to hold on to that. We will be playing together someday. Yeah.
I know a student who's like, I miss seeing you in person. And I tell her, I say, if each day that goes by, we get closer to reuniting.
That's right. It's true. Yeah. It's even been hard for me to try and virtually teach. I definitely feel for those teachers out there that are having to readjust. That's gotta be hard.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely hard. But it's true. Every day is a step closer to that reunion and that concert or that, play. But I do see the future as being a lot more intimate. I'm very much, I'll be excited to play maybe some house concerts or some smaller intimate vibes. And that kind of translates over to like, how am I going to be putting out music? So trying that more like for a yoga class, meditative kind of looping pedals, trying to see how I'm more of a one-man band rather than needing a whole backing band behind me. It's harder for, someone that's saxophone, piano, that's amazing. You can always like sing and play or do, and do that. But it's been interesting to reimagine what is happening for a saxophonist or a horn player or something. Because we're like, oh, you can do a live stream? I'm like, I really have to think about does someone want to sit there and listen to solo saxophone? No. Do they?
But it's only what's in your head, because it's what's in your head. You're hearing it all. So
yeah. Well, for me, yeah.
I don't know, teleport that or something. Now we're real future.
But then it kind of translates well, now maybe I need to dive into production. What's it look like for me to get more on Ableton and be able to produce tracks in a different way so that I'm not waiting for, when can I get my band all together to rehearse and coordinate schedules and fly and record? That's harder to do now rather than being okay, maybe I can start to build a track more of a producer style. I don't know, something new to explore, but kind of maybe more gadgets. What can I do to kind of create this sound bath of experience that I want to on my own?
Yeah. We know we're doing our work is done when they start prescribing different genres of music instead of medications, when they actually you become a tonic, your music becomes a tonic. Prescribing you Hailey's MAE.SUN, for your depression.
I've never thought of that before.
Obviously, we're in the thick of the pharmaceutical industry right now, but
I wish I could play healing concerts for so many people right now. I definitely have had people come up to me after shows and be like, whoa, I feel like you cleansed my soul, my spirit. I'm like, I love it. Would love to do that for everybody. I want to do that, but
we certainly get paid a lot more if they started looking at us like medicine instead of entertainment, right?
If we were like the pharmaceutical companies, wow. So corrupt. I don't want to be corrupt.
When I hear your music, I think, okay, we haven't even begun to get into the infancy of the science, just what music can do to heal. Because we're immersing ourselves and healing ourselves and cleansing ourselves with our music. But then when you can do that for a huge group of people or for an intimate group, I feel like that's really potent. That's something.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's just we're kind of doing it because we feel like we have to do it, right? I mean, that's kind of, I feel like I have to do this. So it's funny, starting to look at it from the other side of how other people are affected by my music. I don't do that as much because I'm just oh, this is just me. This is what I have to do. So it is interesting to give that some insight and be like, you know, how other people respond to it or feel the need for it even, you know.
And you can maybe have all, you know, this is, I think of an artist who I really love who's kind of unique is George Winston, who's a pianist that's kind of, can't really categorize him, it's kind of new age, if you will.
Yeah.
And I love his music because it's like forest, this one's plains, you know, this one's mountains, and it's just like, I will put on whatever one I feel like I need. Like if I need a little pick up, I'll maybe do like something a little faster, you know, plains or something, but I don't know, I'm almost imagining that for some kind of the future of music, just having different reflections of ourselves in these little
Totally.
could be cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Kudos to you for powering through this unforeseen kind of upsetting, disturbing time. Kudos.
Yeah. And then we also have to start thinking about, well, how do we translate this time into our music?
There you go.
Right?
I mean,
Nina Simone said, right? You know, a true artist is a reflection of their times. And it's like, okay, well, what part? Because there's so many different lanes for us, right? There's so many different ways in which people are need to show up, or what we need to fight for, or like so many angles. So really finding that and how we're going to translate that into our music, which I definitely need to spend more time sitting with, and like, because this is a really important time, both for humanity and, you know, focus on this country, racially, you know, children's rights. Like we got a lot coming into the light. So yeah, definitely feeling it all.
over
Yeah.
bits and pieces eventually, but
Definitely. Yeah. And just the whole like I'm at my parents' house right now, you're at your parents' house, right? Just this limbo of living just not in our own spaces, not in our own flow, and to have that be something that's different for me, as well as it feels like all the roots are tearing up around so many different things, you know. I'm just like, I feel like I can't grab onto anything right now. So
are you dosha?
I think I'm Pitta.
I'm Pitta Kapha.
Yeah. So. Pretty Pitta. I was like literally but I love the heat. So it was 100 degrees here on Sunday, and I went like floating. That was the day I did the yoga class outside. So I'm baking in the sun, then going floating on a river. And like by the end of the day, I had the worst headache ever, you know, and they're like, oh, you're Pitta. It's like overheating here.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, that explains a lot. I feel your pain.
Yeah. But yeah, just trying to gain a balance here. Music definitely helps bring it back in, but also it's without my own space, it's hard to dive in maybe as deep as I maybe would in my own flow. So kind of just figuring that out. Mm-hmm. It's been an interesting couple months here, but I'll be headed back to LA soon. So
that's awesome. Well, I hope maybe one day I'll be able to visit you. I would love to make it over. All my friends have left and gone there, and they're like, why are you?
Yeah. It's been a pretty cool place to live. I definitely, especially coming from New York, which I lived there for 7 years, and that was just packed all in. Everything's moving. This is now like space, the activity, like rather than the activity including like going to the bar, where the activity is like, oh, want to go to the mountains today, go for a hike, you know? So it's just like way more my West Coast style and pace of feeling really aligned there, but definitely a very active music center. Portland's great too. Just LA is a little bit more culturally expanded and more people obviously to connect with, but I do love the music scene here in Portland. I was very lucky to grow up in a place that has amazing educators and amazing people that play and stayed around to keep playing and keep the scene alive. So, yeah.
I could say the same about Detroit, I guess, too. Yeah. Very loyal musical community here, too.
Right? One of the best jazz festivals, too, right?
just free jazz festival, and they're having it this year, live streamed, I believe. It's so good.
Oh, wow.
Have you ever played it? I don't know if you played.
No, and I've really only like driven through Detroit. I haven't spent any time there. So one day, got to get to that music center.
Yes, you do. You do.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, great. Well, I really appreciate your time, and it was so cool. We got to jam a little bit. I hope the sound was great. We'll see.
I know, it's so funny. We don't know what happened there, but you guys out there do, and we can listen back.
Sounds good. But well, I'm really excited for Compendium 3 here. I want to just keep deep diving on. I'm gonna take a listen, and our listeners, please do just relax, listen, get into it. It's something that's very transcendental, I feel like, and something, really ingest and sit with. So I can't wait to go back and revisit.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I definitely look forward to your release and hopefully getting to play with you.
Yes, hopefully. We will stay in touch. So
great. Thank you. Thanks for having me today too. Good to connect. Awesome.
Great. Take care, Hailey.
You too. Bye.